Hello, this is I Do Damage, and welcome back to the channel. In this Reign of Darkness video, I want to talk about this indie MMORPG and kind of explain what it is, if I think it's worth your money, and what you can actually expect to get for $20 with this game in its current state. Before we start, I do want to remind everyone I do stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Hopefully, I can be lucky enough to catch you there sometime. Also, I have all my social media links down in the description below. Please feel free to check that out. Let's go ahead and start. Reign of Darkness is an indie MMORPG, like I said. It came out into early access on Steam back in November 2019. And it was one of those games that I had in my sights and I just was kind of waiting. I was on the fence for about a month. And finally in late December, I decided to just pick up the game and try it out. And to be honest, I'm glad I did. I think the game has a lot of potential, but I do think that it needs to be noted it's lacking a little bit of endgame content in its current state. So the way I want to talk about Reign of Darkness is I want to approach it into the systems that are in the game and what can you expect. The first system I would like to talk about is your character and your character development. This is a huge thing. I come from a background of theory crafting and just making character builds. So this game has a lot of that, and that's no wonder why it's my favorite part of the game. So first of all, you have your basic character sheet that you can add and take away attributes. So this character I'm showing you right now is actually a mage. So I've gone into elemental. Each of these, this isn't going to be a full guide video or anything, it's just an overview, but each of these does different things. So you're going to have to actually look at what they do. You have your specialization. Obviously, I went full magic so that my spells cost less and stuff like that. But you can, what's really cool is you can take these points out and put them back on the fly. And it actually doesn't cost any money to do that. So that's pretty cool. But that's pretty basic, right? You should already assumed that that was there. And just a quick tip, if you are playing the game or thinking about it, if you hold down shift while you do the plus and minus, it actually takes away increments of 10 points at a time. But that's just kind of the surface level of theory crafting. It really gets deep when you come and look at your talent tree. And this is the way classes work on Reign of Darkness. When you first make your character, you're going to pick your race and faction, and that's it. Though I think right now there's only human, and then for factions you have good and evil. You can switch factions actually on the fly with this item right here. That's pretty easy to get. Anyway, back to the theory crafting and my favorite part of the game. So this is the Necronomicon is what they call it. It's a skill tree. So there are 8 classes in the game, and you can pick 3 to actually put points into for each character. So there's an archer, which I haven't spent really any time with. The wraith, I have spent some time with this when I was trying to build my kind of like Death Knight type of build. Barbarian, priest, paladin, sorcerer, shaman, and necromancer. So those are your 8 classes. And obviously, so you can pick 3, right? Obviously, some of these are going to pair up better with other classes than they will with others, if you know what I'm trying to say. So like, for example, on my caster, I've gone for a sorcerer, necromancer, and the priest. And, you know, instead of priest, maybe I could have gone shaman and gone a little bit there. I haven't spent much time with a lot of it yet. I only have 20 hours in the game, and I feel like I could theory craft for at least another 20 hours. But those are your 8 classes. Once you've decided the first one you want to make, when you first start your character, you're going to be given 10 points to actually spend into your tree. And the way it works is each horizontal row of skills is a tier. So you can see these are a tier 1 skill. In order to unlock these, which are tier 2, you have to spend 10 points in the class. And then you'll have tier 2 unlocked. And then once you do that, you can try to unlock tier 3, which you'll have to spend another 10 points. So it's every 10 points you'll unlock a new tier. And then in tier 3, you actually have these 3 and this one are also tier 3. You can see, where is it? Oh, I don't have one. That's at tier 3. They're all, anyway. And then once you have these unlocked, you can go ahead and unlock your very last skill, which is usually like kind of the skill that like defines your class, I guess. And this is your tier 4. So you're going to need to be at least 30 points into a class before you can unlock the final tier. So you get the 10 points when you first make your character, and then every level you gain 2 more talent points as well as 10 attribute points. So if you do the math, you can figure that around level 20, you'll have your tier 3 unlocked if you go fully into one tree. But there's so many like passives that like increase your mana regen or your mana pool or your healing done, damage done. There's a lot here when it comes to this. And I don't even think that there's really like a cookie cutter build right now. I'm sure people will tell you like this class is really strong for solo or you know, that type of thing. But as far as like an actual cookie cutter, I don't think that there's a set one right now. Maybe in the future I'll make a class guide when I feel confident in my own build and stuff like that. But I'm still learning. I'm still learning all the systems even after 20 hours. So obviously that was my favorite part of the whole game. And I know that segment was a little bit longer there, but let's go ahead and move on. The next part of any MMO is obviously the world. This is where you're going to be spending the majority of your time playing, right? So the world I have broken down into 2 parts, the overworld and dungeons. So first of all, let's talk about the overworld and quests. When you first start up the game, you're going to start in the main city, which is in the very center of the map. And you'll get some quests, and the quests there's no actual quest UI while you're out questing. You can open up your quest interface here and check on certain quests that you may have. But like this one, kill 15 Viking skeletons, it doesn't actually track it, and there's no notification of when I've completed that. So I have to kind of keep track. And when I'm killing those skeleton Vikings, it'll actually show up on my screen saying that. But when I'm done, there's no way to actually know without opening the log. And it doesn't tell me where to go either. I need to actually go in here and figure out who I'm talking to actually turn the quest in. So it's kind of cool that it doesn't really hold your hand in that sense. So that's pretty much it for quests. The world itself, the monsters go up to level 25. And that's pretty low level considering that the level cap is 100 currently. And so that means from level 25 to 100, you're going to have to grind dungeons. The dungeons in this game are interesting in the sense that their level scales with the party leader. So if you have the party leader is level 100 and I'm level 10, I can go in there and get power level. That's a thing in this game. You can probably see if you've been reading the chat or whatever, but you can do that. But let's say the party leader is level 25, but I'm level 50. I can't go in. The party leader's level has to be within 10 levels of mine if it's above. So in order to enter a dungeon with a lower level party, I would either have to be the leader or be within 10 levels of them, of whoever the party leader is. Anyway, so that's how the levels and that works for the dungeons. When you go into each dungeon, there's 3 dungeons total in the game. And when you go in, you can decide between regular, medium, hard, or nightmare. If you do manage to clear it on medium, you're going to get 1 token per boss kill, which is used for the in-game shop, which we will talk about at the very end of the video. It's kind of a interesting topic. But you may hear that, oh, you can solo dungeons, they scale to your level. And that's true if you really know what you're doing and if you have really good gear and great knowledge of the game. When you first start, do not expect to go in and solo a dungeon. It's just probably not going to happen. What I do is if I can't find a party, I'll go in solo and just kill some of the trash mobs. I actually can't solo any bosses currently, but I haven't spent a ton of time. I'm going to go and look at my build and try to come up with a solo-friendly build. Maybe I'll make a video about that. Who knows? But there you go. Those are your dungeon difficulties. And at level 100, this is where this really comes into play, is at level 100, if you're playing on Nightmare, you can get gear to drop up to level 163. And once you're level 100 character level, you can equip any item level of gear. So that's really cool. It kind of gives like that item chase. That's the true end game, is chasing items. I usually don't like to comment on games' difficulty, but on this game, I think it's safe to say that having a tank, healer, and DPS is definitely a great idea to pursue the more difficult settings for each of the dungeons. But the world overall, dungeons and overworld, all of it combined into one, is really an interesting place. And when you first start the game's going to seem massive, and you're more than likely going to get lost unless you check out the Steam guides, which there's a plethora of, and the community is really helpful as well. But the world's going to seem massive until you actually get your flying mount, because once you get your flying mount, you can just fly all the way to the top of the map and see everything. And at that point, you're going to realize how small the world actually is. I can show you right here on the video. So this is the main city that you're going to start in. And I guess it's kind of a spoiler or whatever, but like you can fly up here and see the whole world. You know, there's the last dungeon over there in that little cavern. There's the first dungeon I was in, and then the second dungeon is under the city. There's kind of a little boss over here for a quest. Like I could sit right here and just do a whole leveling guide from this one vantage point and tell you where to go every area and stuff. But, you know, when you first start, you do move really slow on foot, and, you know, it is what it is. Last thing I want to comment on before we get to kind of the touchy subject of the cash shop. First, I want to talk about crafting. And this is by no means a crafting guide, okay? This is just an overview so you know what content's in the game for 20 bucks. So once you do one of your starter quests that you'll do, I won't spoil everything. I'll leave some of it up to you because that's part of the fun, is exploring the world. But once you unlock this Philosopher's Shard, this will allow you to open this crafting window, which you can place items in here. And there's kind of like a text guide here that tells you how to use it. Different options and whatnot. There's common and disenchant's probably the one I use the most. You can break down items for these essences that you'll need to craft later on. You can make gems. You can do transmog of different armors if you want. And of course, the most important one, which I'm waiting until level 100 for, because I don't want to waste any of my materials and I want to make sure I'm using those best in slot pieces and kind of upgrading those. But you drop the item you want in here, and then you're crafting materials around here and transmute, and there's ways to get random stats, ways to guarantee you get a certain stat of a random amount, different things like that. I would say it's an introductory level of crafting. There's no professions or leveling to your crafting yet. I believe that's something that's being worked on, and in my opinion is needed really. The crafting's kind of, yeah, it's introductory. It's a new game, right? So the last part I want to talk about with this game, and this is a little bit touchy, so I'm curious to see what you guys have to say down in the comments about this. And, you know, I've heard both sides, but I'll go ahead and share my opinion on this. So the game does have a cash shop where you can spend real life money. So these tokens that I talked about earlier, where if you're doing a medium or higher dungeon, you can get tokens from bosses, you can actually purchase for $1 right here. And these tokens are then used at specialty shops in the town to buy armor, weapons, mounts. However, these items that you can buy, they're only level 20. I do feel like they're pretty strong for a level 20 item. But, you know, by the time you're 100, you're going to replace these items anyway. And then you can also buy mounts. If you're going to buy a mount, I wouldn't buy tokens to buy the mounts, because you can earn the tokens in the dungeon. And actually, this is kind of something I noticed on stream the other night, was the green wyvern. Okay, this costs 25 tokens. So let's say I wanted to buy 25 tokens. That's $25, right? But if I wanted to just buy the same thing, just flat out with money without tokens, I could buy it for 20. So I thought that was a little bit weird, but you know, hopefully people aren't getting tripped up by this. And I really wish that they would have the token purchases available here as well. But anyway, this is the cash shop, the dev support store, and I can see why people would be turned off by this. I could see why it may be considered a pay to win or anything of that nature. But for me personally, if you want to pay 20 bucks to get a flying mount at level 1 when you first start the game and support the indie developer in the process, I don't think that hurts. You can get the green wyvern, you can get the flying mount in game with gold, as well as the tokens that I showed you. But here's the vendor for these specific mounts that you can buy with gold. I think the flying mount is like 1,000 gold. That's a lot of gold. Like, that's going to take you, I don't even know. I've been playing for 20 hours and I'm like, don't even have 200 gold. But and then there's also horses and stuff like that. But anyway, that's the cash shop. Everything in here can be earned in game except for this 40 slot tab for your stash. That's $5. You cannot earn that in game. The only way to get that is paying $5, which, you know, I'm okay with. That's fine. I wish I could earn them in game since it is a buy to play game, but at the end of the day, the dev needs to make some support and whatnot. So, you know, I'm not going to ramble on about that. We're all going to have our own opinion when it comes to pay to win and if this cash shop is the right approach for this game or not. So I'm curious what you guys think. So now that you have all this information about Reign of Darkness regarding the character talents and stats on your character, the world when it comes to leveling, questing, and dungeons, as well as kind of a crafting overview, and you know about the cash shop, let's go ahead and just talk about my final thoughts after 20 hours of gameplay. I personally think for $20, don't expect a full game. I think for $20, what you should expect is that you're supporting the developer and you're able to play a playable game, because the combat and gameplay is actually really smooth. There's a few minor bugs here and there, but we've seen quite a few hot fixes since November. So the developer is active, and any support really helps grow the game, right? So for $20, you know what you're getting, as well as helping the game developer out. So in the end, it's all up to you. If you're expecting to get 100 hours out of the game right now, I don't know if that's necessarily true. Maybe if you have a group of players that you want to play with and dungeon grind and hunt for the best loot, sure, I'm sure you could. But if you're kind of like me that just likes to theorycraft, explore, try to maybe meet people, and just check out the game, you're probably not going to get a full 100 hours out of it in its current state. But, you know, I'm excited for the future. There's a lot here. There's even a PvP zone right now that I didn't mention earlier because it's not actually like working like there's nothing really in there. It's kind of empty, still being developed. But this little tower, you can go in and flag for PvP and open PvP in there. But there's no like rewards. That's still a piece that's under development. But anyway, I feel like I'm just kind of rambling here, but let me know what you guys think. Is this a game that you're going to check out, or maybe just keep an eye on and wait? Or if you're already playing, feel free to hit me up. I do have a Discord with over 100 members on there, man. We're actually growing quite the community, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you to you, the community, and everyone else. Y'all are awesome. If you want to group up and carry me in this game, feel free, man. Feel free. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time.